In this video, we are going to introduce how to use Enoserv RTS software to test UR relay. Enoserv is a multi-platform program which can be used to control multiple vendors' relay test set, like Omicron, Doble, Megger, Manta, ESA, SMC, etc. With Enoserv RTS, the user does not need to use the relay test set software like AVTS, PreTest, Test Universe, etc. So in this demo, we're going to use the Enoserv RTS to test one UR D60 relays of the firmware 7.2. So let's get started. For this test, we're going to use Doble F6150 to test the UR D60 relay. And also we need to have the software license, a USB dongle to plug into the computer before we start Enoserv software. So first thing we need to do is to click Load Routine. And we can see we have the library routine and system routines. For the library routine, which is a library template built for a specific type of the device. It includes all the configuration, connection, and node information for the tests. It's saved in the library routine folder. For the system routine, it's a routine that is always created from the library routine for the specific device somewhere on the actual electrical system. So we already created one hierarchy structure for the Markland, and we can just by drag and drop this one to create another one. For example, this called this Markland 550. And in the phase zone, I called MPI. And then we got another options to choose linked routine and standalone routines. The difference between the linked routine and the standalone routine is the linked routine will choose the test and the setting data is linked to the library routine. Any change in the library routine will be updated to the linked system routines. For the standalone routine, it's initially created as a copy of the original library routine. After the standalone routine is created, all edits will be isolated from that device. External change to the original library routine will have no effect on the standalone system routine. So for this one, I choose the linked routine. So now I can see got two of the D60 device created on the two different locations. So I'm going to run this 650 by double-click this test. Now we need to do some initial settings under the system info. First is the test set selection. Since we got this USB dongle plugged in, we got the option to choose the different test sets. Otherwise, you only have this simulation modes available. So I'm going to choose Doble F6000, and I'm using the Ethernet interface, so I need to type in the IP address of the Doble. And for the communication to the equipment, I can choose the Ethernet or for the COM port. So I use my Ethernet port for the Doble, so I'm going to use the USB port for the relay, which the COM port is COM9. I can verify this by clicking this Windows Device Manager. So I can see my COM port is COM9, and I need to set this correct baud rate, which is 19 200 from the UR side. Now I can do a testing of the equipment communication. Okay, I got an error message, could not communicate to the Doble 6000. So I need to confirm the network connection. In order for the software to control the Doble set, we need to configure the computer IP to be on the same subnet with the Doble test set. So I configured the computer IP to be 169.254.3.98. So now close this one, and we can do the test equipment communication again, and we can see this time communication with equipment is successful. From now we can use this manual control mode to control the Doble test set. Can use the internal RTS software or the Doble software. So we're going to use RTS, so this way we don't need to use Doble PreTest software. So I'm going to use this to select the three-phase current and voltage and apply some magnitude. And phase angle. Be careful that phase angle, you can choose the different conventions, the lagging, leading, or plus minus 180. So I'm using the plus for the lagging, so this will be 120 and 240. So I put 10 degrees lagging for this current. And now I click this fire band channel. I should see this turn on from the Doble set front panel. Okay, so I'm going to click this fire enabled channels. And now from the Doble front panel, I can see that the three-phase voltage current is applied on the front panel. So I can turn this off. I can do the ramping, but if I check the ramping box, but I'm just going to turn off this for now. Okay, next we can check the data device entry, and this is the by default name, and also the setting entry. This is again this is default setting name. Later we're going to import the UR D60 setting file. This will be updated. Now we're going to run the linked tests part. That on the top, these are the pre-test. It's just by update the setting file, configure the outputs, etc. Then the real yellow folder, that's all the test for different elements saved below each folder. So for example, this is the move distance, and we got the voltage, current, etc. And the test can be, each individual test can be run by double-click the test or click the bottom Run Test button. And the test can be run individually or can be grouped together by pressing the Shift key to highlight the whole group, or we can just by using the Control key to highlight individual test. For the demo purpose, I'm going to just do the individual test in the pre-test part. So the first is read test notes, and this gives you the instruction how to run this test. It tells you this software will read the URS setting file, the populated setting. It knows what setting will be needed. Otherwise, it tells you to enable the certain function in order to run the test. For example, if you run the distance mule, you have to set the shape into the mule, not the quadrilateral. And also the auto mask. If you set to 0, that means no instruction, no communication. You have to manually mapping the output contact. Or if you set to 1, that means you can use a Modbus command automatically mapping the element into that selected output. So there's lots of instructions, so the user can just read this note before the testing. And then I'm going to click OK to acknowledge reading of this test note. And then I'm going to run the test get setting file from the device. So again, this will tells you need to have a copy of the setting file ready. I already got the setting file available on the local drive, so I'm going to install that setting file, import into the RTS. The global define, this will step through the entry global settings. So this tells you which setting group to choose. I'm using the group 1, select 1. And the auto mask, as I mentioned, we want to run this automatic, so I set this to 1. And this is the skip test. I want to set to 0. And the test current for the distance is 2.5. Okay, now this is the interesting part, is to import the relay setting file. So I already got selected setting file, RTS setting file on my local. This is generated this afternoon at 4 p.m. So I'm going to select this file and click OK. Then I should see a reading settings from the selected file. This process bar is moving, and I can see the updated settings populated. And this process will take about 3 to 5 minutes, depends on the elements enabled, the type of the relay, the order code. Okay, once the setting is read into the RTS, we can go back and check the setting entry, and we can see that order code being updated to my D60 order code, and the firm version being changed from the 740 into 720. Okay, so after that we should run a setting evaluation, and it says will take 30 seconds, and say the relay programmed as programmed. Okay, so the next is to select the output. So I'm going to use a spare output for this test. I wired the output 1 into the Doble set binary input 1, so I'm selecting the input 1. Okay, so this procedure will gather the needed information, and so it stops the communication in case you're using the serial port. So you should immediately stop your ANA Vista. if you're using the serial port, and click OK. And now I'm going to do the auto config. So this will select the test voltage. Acknowledge this, and then will be the instruction for the wiring of the VT and CT to the test set. Wiring to the CT, and last is to reset the trip. Okay, so all the pre-test we are done so far. We're going to start the real test, and because my distance is set into the quadrilateral, I'm going to run some quadrilateral test by select one group. I'm going to press the shift key to select out group, and for the static spec and user options, we can select some parameters, and one example is that how many points you want to test. So for example, you want to test 3 points and 25 degrees, so I can see that be more points populated in that characteristic. So now I'm going to run this group test by click Run Test. So now I can see my Doble test start injecting the current and the voltage. Okay, now the test is done. Now it's running for the BC. The AB part is done. So we can see this showing the status of the test, but you cannot see the test result on the software when the test is running. Okay, now it's running the CA. Okay, so all the tests are done for the 3-phase AB, BC, and CA. And for the next test, I want to run the TOC, phase TOC. So I'm going to start the phase TOC timing test. And for this test, you can select how many points you want to run and on how many faces. So for this one, I want to select 3 points, and for 3 faces, so that will be 9 points. Okay, so let's see how this works. And meanwhile, this time I'm going to change the camera, shooting the front panel of the UR. Okay, so the test of the TOC is done. We can see the result and the graph, and now we can save the result and save this. You can save as found or as left. In this case, I save this as left. Okay, so now if I want to print this test, so that's the test you can select. So there's 21 pages of the report. You can zoom in a little bit. So that shows all the information of the settings. And if we go to the first few pages, all the settings. So if we click to go to the last page, we can see that the test for this read is wrong. Okay, so this is just for the first test. Okay, so let's close this one. So if you select this test for the timing, go to the last page. So we can see the this is the timing result for the last page. And if you click show all data, and then print, so this way you can see all the previous the distance, impedance, and the TOC under all these nodes. And this can be exported into the PDF, or this can be saved to for your archive. So I can save it to Enoserv. So generated archived PDF report for my information. So that's all the result, current, voltage, impedance, theoretical, the error, all displayed in this report. And that concludes this how-to videos on how to use the Enoserv RTS to test with the UR D60 relay.